G'day guys, welcome to Perfectly Reasonable Necessities. My name's Pete and today we've got a video on how do I use that. It's a series that I've created just to help beginners to identify different things and how to use them. So we'll be doing power tools, hand tools, pretty much anything in the workshop that you'll come across on a frequent basis that you need to use. So we're using measuring tools today. So have a look at that one there, steel wool, those sorts of things, and we'll go through those in a minute. And before we go any further, subscribe, like and share down the bottom if you can. Helps the channel out a little bit. So let's get into it. How do I use that? Marking. Alright, so there's a couple of different marking gauges and things that we can use. Obviously there's the tape measure, we all know about that. Then there's these other gauges. So you've got your normal framing square, which is this guy. You've got all your rafters and pitches, hip and valley calculations here. There's your standard 90s. Alright, so pivot points, you can work out angles by using the pivot point and marking it at set locations. Alright, so top and bottom will be valleys. This one here has both metric and imperial on it. Alright, so, and then obviously that's degrees. So if your hip and valley is 24 degrees, you rotate and there's your mark. But anyway, that's not how I use them, because we're sort of, I just do stuff in the shed, but they're great to have anyway. Just say if you wanted, you can do a quick line with them. So I'm going to get one out of the way. Alright, you can just eyeball it. So there's your nice even mark there. Alright, it's got a little lip on it, so you can actually put the material there like that and scribe your line. There. Alright, so speed square, really handy to have, especially if you're just marking out and all that sort of stuff. You can also use a speed square to guide a cut, believe it or not. So if I'm cutting that line and this is my saw, I can put the saw at a set distance away from the cut line, so that way the blade ends up on the outside like that, and I can run the saw with the cut deck along here. Alright, speed squares, good thing to have around the shop. Another standard is just your steel rule. So obviously this one has both on them. A lot of them come with a sliding gauge on them. I don't have the gauge on this one, I took it off just because I just needed the ruler. And again, it's standard, so you just go about 40 degrees to your ruler and make your mark. And the steel rule, usually the stainless steel, so they don't rust. These guys here this one's from Incra. This is their small T-square. So this one here, it's stamped metal. So you can see it's actually quite thin. The reason why I've done that is because, say, when you look at the two on the unit there, you see how the material on the ruler, which is this one, is much thicker than that. Well, there is a theory that the thicker the material you're using to create the marking gauge, the further off the actual mark you'll be. So because of this thickness. So what they do is that Incra use really thin stamped metal, and then what you do is, let's say if I wanted to mark that at say 30, then I can either put it into the pre-described punch hole at 30 and slide it down. I can mark it off like that. I can standardize like that, and we're square to here. Alright, you've even got a micro ruler. So these are your full millimeters. These are sorry, these are your full centimeters. These are your millimeters, and these ones are your half millimeters down here. So it's actually quite and you can also use it as a square by sliding it down the T section and using it as a square as well. Alright, but the main function to this one is to be able to use we call them a pacer, or a very thin lead pencil, and make your mark. Won't work too well with this pencil because it's too thick, but now these guys here, there's a whole range of these on the market. What these are called calipers. So these will measure the outside diameter, so that's what the bigger jaws are, the outside diameter of something. So if I want to measure the outside diameter of, say, that disc, and I do that, and there's two ways I can read it. And I think the batteries are flat on this one. Yeah, they are. I can read it manually, it's just 165, or it would read 65 millimeters on that screen if the battery is working. If I wanted to read what the inside diameter of that was, then obviously, again, because we know it's 65, it's going to read 65 again. But if I wanted to, say, measure the inside of this and get the inside diameter, I can actually do that on the smaller side. Alright, so I can do that, and that gives me 25 mils. That's the distance between those two interior marks there. That's to lock it down. This is for micro movement, so I can move it a little bit at a time, or a lot of the time. Say if I wanted to measure the distance of something, which I do a lot on my CNC, I'll use the calipers, and all I'll do is I'll just drop it down to the surface of the board like that, and then that gives me that measurement right on the end. So that's 0, and then it's calibrated to read down here, and that's at 17 mil. Alright, so you can get these from a number of different brands. The more you spend on them, the more accurate they are, but this is a basic brand for me, and it does the job quite well. Now this one here is a little bit of a different kettle of fish. This one here is a Craig square. So there's a brass, and you can see I use this a lot because it's quite dirty, but it's got a couple of different features on it. So obviously it's got a steel rule and a level, so there's a level there. I can use it for hanging pictures. That's what that recess is for. I can actually put it on the back of the picture and actually see if it's going to be level or not. I can use it as a straight ruler, so if I want to actually check the depth of something, I can put the brass knob in there like that, and then adjust it, and there's my depth. Alright, and again, we're at about 17 mil there. Alright, there's a couple of ways you can do that though. If you're like our American friends, we need feet and inches, so there's your feet and inches. But if you're really worried about getting it dead on, such as you're trying to, I don't know, adjust your router bit height on the table for a thickness of the material, then you can do that. Alright, lock it off, and now I know that is 17 mil right the way across. And then say if I've got to do that piece, I round that piece, and then the new piece comes in, I can do it again, knowing that the blade is set. You can also do it in a circular saw, front and back, or in the middle as well, and just mark it off. That's cool. But this little guy here has another couple of features other than the level in there. You can actually turn him into a square. So you just go like that, and it's pre-molded, so you do that. And now we've got a square. Alright, I can do that all day. That's and you use that one. Yeah. So we've got these guys here. Generally speaking, the more experienced you'll get, the further away from an actual tape measure you'll get. So you've got your speed square there. Sorry, I'll show a bit more. Speed square there. You've got your builder square or the Craig adjustable square there. And then you've got some calipers, steel rules, and obviously the Incra Micro T. The main reason why you use a tape measure is really just to get rough cuts in, and then all this other stuff comes into play a lot more frequently. Particularly a tape measure combined with the speed square, that'll be for your rough cuts, and then all these other stuff is for near final cuts and stuff like that, or mortising or those sorts of things, where you need an actual, like, really close sort of measurement. Alright guys, again, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this one. Have a good one.